This conference will now be recorded.
Very good. It's been indicated that the conference will be recorded. I'm sorry I'd like to apologize to everyone. Our workshop session went over a small amount, but I appreciate everyone's consideration. And I'm just trying to look and see who's made their way back yet, who hasn't. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Who are we missing? Bob Reeves, I don't see back up. This is about the extent of my technical ability, but we'll go ahead and start. I believe I've asked Jim Jenkins to phone in and be able to return our invocation this evening after our Pledge of Allegiance. And if he's not able to, I'll graciously ask Councilman Thompson if you'll share a quick prayer if Jim Jenkins is not able to join the virtual meeting. So let's go ahead and get started since I show it's past that time.
Mr. Jenkins is here and just needs to unmute himself, please.
Mr. Jenkins. Okay, very good. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I'd appreciate it if we could all join and do that. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Almighty God, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Almighty God, who has committed to us the swift and solemn trust of life, since we know not what a day may bring, but only that the hour for serving you is ever present. May we wake to the instant claims of your holy will, not waiting for tomorrow, but responding today. We ask that you move us to act not in fear for what tomorrow may behold in these times of uncertainty. We find the threat of the coronavirus very real and knocking at our doors. We pray for the health and safety of our healthcare workers, our first responders, our military, and our communities. Grant our mayor and city council members wisdom. We ask for divine healing and for your blessings on our community, to restore our joy and to reunite us one against our enemy, the virus. Help us to do our part. Consecrate with your presence and bless our service to our community. Guide us now in being friendly and generous toward one another. Instill in us faith and knowledge. O Lord, show the people of our city and county the right way to serve and guard the sacredness of our freedoms. Let us ever be grateful and accept the responsibilities which they entail. You are our God, and to you we would ascribe all glory and honor, now and forever. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain Jenkins. It's very nice of you to bring such a wonderful prayer this Easter week. I just have one little comment. Our entire faith-based community has outdone themselves. This is probably the hardest week that they have ever had, and they've all been very respectful and very mature in how they've been able to care for our community. So I appreciate all of the extra effort that they've done. And this holiday Easter season has been of a great blessing to my family as well. So thank you very much. Moving on to the opportunity for citizens' concerns. Have any of the council members been reached out to by any citizens with concerns that they'd like to bring forward about items that are not on tonight's agenda? Seeing none, we'll move along to the consent agenda. The consent agenda this evening includes the minutes of the March 23rd City Council meeting, claims for city operation, claims for a public housing authority, and that's all the consent agenda includes. I'd entertain a motion.
This is Tom Stevens. I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda as introduced.
Mike
Second,
Thompson, Roger Shea.
That's okay. Those things are going to happen. We'll take Roger Shannon second. If I could have a vote, please.
Gurley,
Gurley, yes.
Kip,
Yes.
Thompson,
This is Mike Thompson, yes.
Shannon,
This is Roger Shannon, yes.
Reeves,
Reeves, yes.
Stevens,
Stevens, yes.
Wood,
Yes, may I make a comment?
certainly.
I was so sad to see all the refunds that had to be done for the summer camp program, I mean, for the summer programs and the sports programs and the spring things. So much, of kids not being able to do it. I'm sorry about that.
Okay, Mackey,
My apologies. Yes.
okay. Mayor, the motion passes.
Very good. Thank you. We'll move on to old business. The first item of the old business is a public hearing for DLH Holdings LLC Wilkerson Crane Project IRBs. We'll need to make two motions, but we'll ask for a staff presentation.
This is Amber McCullough, Assistant City Manager. This is an industrial revenue bond project for Wilkerson Crane at 142nd Street and Gibbs Road. We've pushed the public hearing a couple of times since it was originally scheduled to work out some details with the cost benefit analysis. And we've sent the cost benefit analysis, the newest one, to the school district. It was included in the packet. This is the public hearing for the industrial revenue bonds, and the project will be approximately 8.4 million of industrial revenue bonds. I don't know, Tyler Ellsworth with QTAC Rock is on, and I'm not sure if he has anything to add this evening.
Thanks, Amber. I do have a couple of remarks, if I may, Mayor.
Let's wait until we reopen up the public hearing.
Perfect.
I'll go ahead and entertain a motion to resume the public hearing at 7:44 p.m. to consider a sales and ad valorem tax exemption for property finance with proceeds of approximately $8.4 million of industrial revenue bonds.
Mr. Barrett,
Mr. Mayor, Mike Thompson. I make a motion to resume the public hearing at 7:44 p.m. to consider a sales and ad valorem tax exemption for property financed with proceeds of approximately $8,400,000 of industrial revenue bonds.
Reeves, second.
Moved and seconded. Now, please, sir, I'm sorry.
Well, thank you, Mayor and Council. Tyler Ellsworth with the law firm of QTAC Rock, the city's bond counsel. Just a few brief remarks this evening to follow up on what Amber has already provided regarding the cost benefit analysis for this industrial revenue bond project. The par amount of the bonds is $8.4 million. That represents about $5.7 million in hard construction costs for the company, and the balance between the $5.7 million in construction costs and the $8.4 million par amount of the bonds reflects soft costs and certain other improvements to the site, paving, equipment, and whatnot, that won't necessarily add to the assessed value of the project once it's complete. So, as Amber mentioned, over the last couple of weeks, Over the last couple of weeks, staff has worked with Scott Anderson, the company's counsel, to negotiate and agree on an estimated assessed value for the improvements on completion at $3.4 million. It's typical that the construction costs for a facility exceed its assessed value, its appraised value and its assessed value once construction is complete. And so we have agreed on using $3.4 million as the value for the purpose of calculating a fixed pilot payment over the 10-year term of the property tax abatement and for purposes of preparing this cost benefit analysis. The cost benefit analysis shows that the benefits outweigh the costs for each of the affected taxing jurisdictions. Just to run through these briefly, the benefit to the city is calculated at 2.25 to 1. The benefit to cost for Wyandotte County is 1.94 to 1. For the school district, it's calculated at just over 3 to 1. Kansas City, Kansas Community College, it's 1.86 to 1, and the state of Kansas, it's over 12 to 1. So it's pretty healthy in terms of the benefit to the cost that the project is projected to generate. So just wanted to point all that out and give you a little bit of background on how this was prepared. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. We'll go ahead. Are there any other, anyone else who'd like to speak to this public hearing, for or against?
I had a question for Ellsworth. Sorry. There was some tax arrears. Are those paid up on that property? You're muted.
Sorry, thank you. Yeah, my understanding was that there were taxes that were, I think, about $17 that were owed on one of the two parcels comprising this property. We have assurance from the company that that would be paid. I did not check that today, so I can certainly check that while we're talking here. But my understanding was that they were going to pay that $17 balance. And that was the only arrearage or tax due that I was aware of.
It must have been one of the properties close to it that I was thinking of then. My apology. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Yes.
Seeing nothing else, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing now at 7:49.
Mr. Mayor, Danny Gurley, moving to close the public hearing at 7:49.
Tom Stevens, second.
Moved and seconded. Can we have a vote, please?
Kip? Kip?
Yes.
Okay. Mackey?
Mackey, yes.
Shannon?
Roger Shannon, yes.
Wood?
Wood, yes.
Reeves?
Reeves, yes.
Stevens?
Stevens, yes.
Gurley?
Gurley, yes.
Thompson?
Thompson, yes.
Motion passes.
Very good. On to the next item, which is new business, and that is the resolution of intent for the same DLH Holdings LLC Wilkerson Crane Projects IRBs. Anything to add from staff? Nope. I see the shake of the head. Very good. Then I would entertain a motion to approve a resolution of intent to issue industrial revenue bonds in the approximate amount of $8.4 million for DLH Holdings LLC for property tax abatement and sales tax exemption.
Tom Stevens, so moved.
Roger Shannon, second.
Very good. Questions, concerns, comments? And let's do that through a roll call. So Chris, if you could help us with that.
Sure. Reeves?
No comment.
Okay. Stevens?
My only comment is I'm glad to see it finally moving forward, and I'm really happy with the benefit to cost ratio. So glad to see this.
Okay. Kip?
Yes.
Questions or comments? Not a vote yet.
Oh. No questions or comments.
Gurley?
No questions.
Wood?
No questions.
Thompson?
Thompson, no questions.
Mackey?
Yes, and I just wanted to state that I'm thankful for all you guys still working hard and doing everything behind the scenes to make all of this roll well. Our city staff as well as Tyler, thank you guys for keeping our economy turning and moving all that we possibly can.
Shannon,
Shannon, no comment.
Fireworks.
Very, very good. Seeing no questions or no additional questions, concerns, or comments, vote please.
Gurley,
Gurley, yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
Stevens,
Stevens, yes.
Reeves,
Reeves, yes.
Shannon,
Shannon, yes.
Thompson,
Thompson, yes.
Kip,
Kip, yes.
Wood,
Wood, yes.
motion passes.
Very good. Thank you. I'm excited also to see this moving along during a difficult time. So that's a nice improvement to Bonner Springs. And hopefully it'll be a welcome on our westerly entrance. Moving on to item number 2, the Government Services Center change order requests. Staff. Still muted.
Sean, you're still muted.
Yeah.
There we go.
Well, you muted me, Chris. All right, sorry about that. Attached onto the agenda that went out is a memo, but for the sake of everybody, I'll go through the change orders. In total, we have about $19,000 worth of change orders. These are all for the City Hall portion of the building. Change order 6 is changing some hardware that was missed, considered an error. That's about $3,000. We are redoing a circulation room to actually be functioning more as a mail room. That is a credit of about $4,500. We did have some plywood that needed to get reinforced throughout the building, so that's about $4,500. So there goes our credit. We also have some plaster finish across some large areas that needed to get done. It's approximately $8,300. Another credit for some structural steel modifications. That was a value or VE engineering item. We've also provided for some additional smoke detectors. That was about $3,400. That's considered an error in the drawings. $3,000 for soffits at 4 rooms to conceal some duct work. That's considered an unseen condition. $1,300 to reduce some masonry cladding through the building. And then last, about $1,800 for some miscellaneous drywalling around some structural areas. Again, another unforeseen condition. This has been reviewed. These requests come by way of KBS. This has been reviewed by SFS. And ultimately, we are seeking approval for these change order requests. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. We'll need a motion on the floor for discussion. I'd entertain a motion to approve the change order request as presented.
So moved.
Shannon, was that you?
Second.
Thank you.
It was moved by Councilman Shannon and seconded by Councilman Thompson. We'll go ahead and start with a roll call. Questions and comments, please.
Shannon,
No comment.
Mackey,
Mackie here. As I've got the cameras opened up on on a separate computer of mine and don't happen to see anybody from KBS. Is there anyone from KBS present on this conference?
Yes, KBS is represented by Dennis Turner and also Joe Chris.
Okay, thank you guys. I appreciate that. Was just curious.
Thompson,
No comment.
Thompson.
Thank you. Wood,
No comment. Wood.
Gurley,
Gurley, I'd sure be happy to not see the word error too many more times.
Kip,
Kip, no comment.
Stevens,
No comments.
Reeves,
Yes, comment. I'm not sure I understand the purpose on that first item there of what exactly was why we're changing the hardware. Now, you made a comment about that, so that may have taken care of part of it, but I don't understand why there was so much of that. I mean, $3,000 worth of hardware. That's a heck of. Well, I see that as a heck of an oversight. Or did we do something different? Are we using magnetic electric locks or something instead of standard locks, or what is the difference?
This is Dirk with SFS. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
yes,
Okay, great. First of all, I just want to take the opportunity to say that I've been listening in, and I really hear you guys, and I'm a taxpayer myself, and I take great care to look through every change order request that comes across my desk as it pertains to this project. I scrutinize with forensic ability everything that I have to review, and whether it's $100 or $10,000 or $100,000, I make sure that those numbers make sense when you compare it with the data that we have as far as the value. And also, KBS is working hand in hand with us to make sure that their subcontractors don't put anything forward that doesn't make sense. And I can't probably quantify the amount of dollars that we have actually, saved the project just by going through that scrutinizing and that test of every single change order request that comes through. So for what it's worth, I value every council member's and taxpayers' dollar on this project, and that I just wanted to say that. As far as this individual change order, we had some glass doors on the project. When we go out to bid this project, we utilize a hardware specifier, and our hardware specifier incorrectly assigned hollow metal door hardware to glass doors. And as the architect, I should have caught that, and I take full blame for that. But this was something that would have, if it had gone out to bid, it would have, this would have been the cost for that glass door hardware. Now, what we did do is there was an additional $6,000 that was tacked onto this that we eliminated as a result of that scrutiny. What we're paying for is for the addition of card readers, which is quite a bit more premium when you're dealing with a glass door versus a hollow metal door. And so that's the higher numbers that you're seeing as a result.
Okay, that sounds fairly reasonable. The only thing I can say is I don't know why the glass doors weren't included in the first time, but
the glass doors themselves are included. It's the premium for upgrading the card reader itself, and it seems like a high number, but it's because it's a electrified magnet device versus what can be installed on a latch on a hollow metal door. And so it was an error, but the price is reasonable, and it would have been a part of the original bid had it gone out to bid correctly.
okay. The only other thing that I can see is several places down through these, it was kind of a recurring thing on needed extra sheetrock. I take it that you were initially planning on 5/8 inch sheetrock everywhere, but it kept mentioning that. So you're not changing from 1/2 inch to 5/8 or anything like that, are you?
Correct. So this is a very complicated project when it comes to where is plaster and where is drywall. And we did our best. There's a little bit of selective memory when it comes to actually how much haunted house materials were in this job site. We had requested that it be removed ahead of doing any kind of field measurements. And, you know, this is I'm not pointing the finger or blame on anyone, but there was a lot of things covered up with haunted house materials. And so this is a result of that. We couldn't see every single condition. And so as everything comes out of the project, of course we can see everything now. And so there's a lot of costs. And again, we've gone through and made sure that there is, when we bid the project, there is a unit cost associated with new plaster work. And we've held, you know, KBS and their subs accountable for that. There are some conditions that the plaster was thicker, or there was a layer of baseboard needed and metal framing to infill certain conditions that we didn't know about. So, you know, in retrospect and in hindsight, with everything gone, it would have been easier if we had just taken everything out of the project that didn't belong there, that was a haunted house material, and had been able to see all these conditions. And then we would have been able to document appropriately. But this is kind of the result of some of those things.
And I'm sorry about that, but I feel for you guys on that, because it was a mess. I wished that stuff would have been out of there. Were you guys told not to move that stuff?
We were operating under the impression that the haunted house was going to do another season for a while. Then we were instructed that they weren't, but there was a lease issue, I believe. And Sean, maybe you can, I don't remember all of the factors, but the fact of the matter was that it was January before while the project was being bid, that all the haunted house materials were being removed. And even then, a lot of the built-in structures remained. So even if they had taken out all their props and things of value, and also I think the police caught the haunted house people trying to auction off doors and historic elements. And so the whole thing was a little bit, first time for me, first time for everybody. Again, not blaming anybody for the conditions, but that's as best as I can explain it, in all honesty.
Jordan Mackey here. There wasn't any haunted house material on the police site, was there, where the garden was? Kind of lighten the mood. That was it.
I like you. You shoot from the hip and you shoot direct, and I appreciate that. And I have been listening in on the Sallyport conversation, and I want to convey that, you know, SFS is really going to bat for you guys this whole time. I don't take change orders lightly. I don't have any interest in adding change orders to the project. Neither does KBS. And a lot of these, I would say 90% of them are a result of, we dug a hole, we've uncovered something, we've removed the haunted house materials, and surprise, here's all these things. It's a historic project. There are lots of extenuating factors and things that were a detriment to the project. And in hindsight, we should have had all that stuff removed. There's not a lot you can do with the civil things, and those were some of the more expensive, you know, and the asbestos was a huge factor that we uncovered. There was bird poop in the chimney. And I want you guys to know that we have no interest and we want to come out looking like we've done the best possible job and have gone above and beyond. So I take it very personally that you guys are not satisfied with what we're doing, because I think the optics of it are very, you know, I'm standing outside looking at this. But there were quite a few things that, and we will admit to the things that we've missed and didn't communicate properly as far as like the Sallyport goes. And our interest is really just to cover things that we missed. And so if there's things that are of value to the project, then, you know, we'll be honest and open about that. Now, I have to defer to Carrie and Dana on a lot of the things surrounding the Sallyport, because it's dicey and it's complicated. But I just want everyone to know that this is not something that we're taking lightly. And it's taxpayer dollars. I pay taxes. I don't want to give money to projects that are not successful or well prepared. And so just for what it's worth.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay.
Bring
Yeah.
it back up, please.
Yeah. I just wanted to say, thank you for your efforts on this. And yeah, I realize that a project this size is going to have change orders, and I'm a big, opponent of not having too many change orders, and so I always ask questions. And I think you've given some pretty good answers here for me, and I appreciate that very much. And I want you to keep on doing everything you can do for us because, as you've heard expressed, we have to answer to, the whole community, which is 7,000 plus people, and it's up to us. We're elected officials, as you know, and we have to account for these things on many occasions. So thank you for that, and do what you can to keep the number of change orders down.
I'm going to keep doing that, and it's not out of. I definitely am concerned for all of your constituents. I know this isn't New York City. Every dollar has a huge impact, especially now that we're looking at this pandemic. And so, I value everyone's concerns, and I don't want you to think that we're not going to bat for you at any point during the course of this project. We're all, you can yell at us all you want. It's not going to change the way that we avidly go after, and seek the value that you're investing into this project every step of the way.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you. Not personal.
Yep. Any other questions, concerns, comments, or where were we, Chris? You're muted.
There, sorry, had to get unmuted there. I think we are ready to, I think we're ready. No, that was Thompson's question? Or whose question was that?
Reeves.
Reeves. Okay, so yeah, we're ready for a vote. Sorry about that.
All right. Seeing no other questions, concerns, comments concerning the change orders. Wave or something. Seeing none, we'll go ahead with a vote, please.
Okay, Stevens.
Stevens, yes.
Kip.
Kip, yes.
Gurley.
Gurley, yes.
Wood.
Yes, Wood.
Thompson.
Thompson, yes.
Mackey.
Mackey, yes.
Shannon.
Shannon, yes.
Reeves.
Reeves, yes.
Okay, motion passes.
Very good. Thank you. And I appreciate all the comments. That we don't take it lightly either, and we appreciate it. So moving on to item number 3, the Axon interview system agreement. And I believe we'll have a staff presentation from Chief, maybe.
Hello, this is Captain. Hello.
Hello.
You guys
Go
hear me?
ahead.
Sorry, this is Captain
Captain
Kraus with the police department. I'm going to present this for us here real quick. This is the Axon video system. We're going to be requesting for approval to go into contract with them and incur some additional costs with the new building. Currently, the police department uses Axon video systems for our body cameras and our in-car cameras, which I'm sure you all remember both of those projects that we've done over the last couple of years with the police department. And with those systems it's an integrated video sharing system that works seamlessly together, whether it's the in-car video cameras or body cameras, but they also offer a interview room system software and camera system that integrates with which brings all 3 of those systems together. What we're asking for is to go into contract with them again with this new system with the new building, which will put cameras, microphones, and small little iPad it's like a screen that goes outside of each interview room where it comes in to start an interview with those with whoever it is they're talking to, whether it's victims, suspects, or just the general public for a simple meeting with them, and we need to record those interactions. They'll be able to engage on the tablet to start the recording, and then when they're done recording it, save it in the same fashion and save it onto the same systems that we use our body cameras and our in-car systems. The other benefit of being able to do that is when it comes time to sharing those videos, whether it's with prosecutors, other city staff, other police departments, and defense attorneys, we're moving currently right now at no cost to ours to a prosecutor sharing and evidence sharing system that allows us to take all of those videos and share them without having to burn discs and without having to mail things and without ever doing all those other things. And then also with that benefit of Axon is I can share a video with any one of you. You can open it up, play it, download it, do what you want to do. And you don't need any other proprietary software to view that video. Where say we use a independent CCTV system, not only do I have to burn a video, which takes a great deal of time because of the amount of data that each video contains to include the audio, but then we also have to download a proprietary viewing system with that, some form of viewing app or some form of viewing software so that you can also watch that video. And then if any of that corrupts or the people lose that software in the transfer of the video file, then we have to go through the entire system and go through the entire sequence again. So overall, adding this interview room software and system to the police department to integrate seamlessly with our body cameras and our in-car systems would just be beneficial all to the public, the prosecutors, defense attorneys, and anybody else that you can think of that would have to interact with us and get videos from our building. So the total financial impact that we're looking at with this system would be the initial software and hardware setup is $51,587. And then after that, the yearly increase to our current Axon system cost would be $9,328 per year up to the 5 years. And after the 5-year mark, that's when we renegotiate with them a new service plan and new contract. Ultimately, we are asking for your permission to go through with this project and to approve it so that we can continue to provide the services that we are currently providing in a seamless, more efficient fashion. So if any of you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them for you.
Thank you, Captain. Appreciate that, and Chief as well. I'd like to entertain a motion.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve purchase of the Axon interview system.
Jordan Mackey, second.
Shannon.
Motion by Councilman Reeves, second by Councilman Mackey. Questions, concerns, comment by roll call, please.
Shannon.
No question other than comment. Captain, thank you. This looks great, and I hope it helps you guys.
Thank you, sir.
Mackey?
Captain Kraus, I just wanted to thank you for all the research and the documentation that you gave. It's very helpful on our end when we can justify expenses and numbers.
Thank you, sir.
Thompson? Oh, sorry. Thompson?
Thompson, yes, I have a couple questions or comments. First of all, I'm going to vote for this, and of course, I'm 100% for everything, supporting the police department. And the guys have done a good job, and no doubt about that. My question lies in the reference to, I'm assuming this coming up now, we want to buy it right away. I'm also looking at a letter that Sean sent out about the virus and this 25% projected loss in sales tax, things like that. My question is, do we need to buy this right away, or do we have time to wait like 6 months to see how some dust settles, especially after our work group, that work session we just had earlier? Again, I'm all for it. I will vote for it. I think you guys need it. Do we have to have it right away? When would be the time that it have to come on board? And if it came on board, how long does it, how long would it take for it to come online? And those kind of questions, if you could answer some of those, please.
Billy Knapp, Chief of Police. In working with KBS and SFS, the time to make the decision is currently. There's some work that's done that kind of precipitates the install that we have to get completed. Part of that is, I'll kind of go into the financial piece because I know there's some questions about that in our earlier meeting. But we're going to receive a credit back for cameras that they're not going to install in those rooms with their existing system. And so that's part of the direction, making sure that there's something in there and it's adequate to work. So obviously cost and in light of current events is a big concern. There's several pieces of our building budget, one of which is the furniture budget. Throughout the furniture budget, we actually have a savings of $32,127 within the furniture budget. Currently, we believe all furniture is accounted for. Additional to that, in the 2020 budget, the police department was given $40,000 for capital improvement items in anticipation for the new building. We have about $28,440 left in that. And lastly, in soft item costs within our police budget, which is like your refrigerators, all those types of things, we went out and sole sourced them with recommendations from SFS, and we're able to save about $10,000 in that as well. So those are the areas, not contingency money, that we are looking at. There's an additional $2,600 credit for SFS, KBS not installing the cameras, and that number will probably go up a little because there are some other items that had a pan tilt zoom camera included, which is an expensive camera, which we removed from the project, giving us a total of about $70,567 to use towards this outside of any type of expenses. So hopefully that answers the question, Mr. Thompson.
And that's outside of the operating budget. There were three sources of income, and then the last one was operating budget. So you're saying that there's approximately 70,000 where we won't even have to look at the operating budget.
Correct.
Okay. Thanks, Chief. I appreciate it. That's all I have, Thompson.
Thank you. Wood?
I appreciate all the work that has been done. No comments.
Gurley?
Gurley, please tell me about the number of licenses. What's the magic behind number 6 licenses?
So what we did is we put one in each interview room. There's 3 interview rooms in the station, one in the processing room. But I take that back. There's 4 interview rooms and 1 in the processing room.
Thank you.
Kip?
Thanks, Chief and Captain. You said there's 4 interview rooms and 1, so how did we get to 6?
I'll let Captain Kraus. I might be missing one. He's the one that kind of helped us out with that.
I believe the licenses is actually adding licenses to our user accounts. We're reached our maximum amount of licenses currently, but I'm on the phone. Sorry about that. Currently, we are at our max use for licenses within the system, and it is beneficial to add those licenses in with the package now versus buying those outright at a later time, so that we can increase the licenses there. And it would just be added over. Those are licenses for the user accounts that we need in the system.
Okay, so there's 5. Is there 5 interview rooms or 4 interview rooms?
Those are there's 4 interview rooms and 1 booking room. So there's a total of 5 systems that would be going in the facility. Those other 6 licenses are for the users of the systems currently. We currently have 24 officers and what is it, three staff members, and we're under licensed right now for those. We're maxed out on them, and we need more to operate within the facility for the officers and staff.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, Chief and Captain. And if you guys do put the savings in those proposals, sometimes I love to see those. We're not in the day-to-day like you guys are, so we don't get to see that all the time. I really appreciate you highlighting those deals. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Stevens?
Yes, just real quickly, when you talk about the
Stevens?
records person, yes, this is Stevens. When you talk about the records personnel, you mentioned about sharing with public defender, I'm not public defender, I'm sorry, prosecutor, all the different agencies. What about the defense attorneys? Will they still have to have a CD or such cut for them? How will they?
No, sir. They will have access in the same fashion. Once all the prosecutor, so essentially we use evidence.com for our law enforcement portion of it, and then they have a prosecutor.com portal that is offered free to any prosecutor's office that works with an agency that pays for the Axon evidence software. Since we're a paying agency, the Wyandotte County District Attorney's Office and the Bonner Springs Municipal Court both get free prosecutor.com portals set up to where we share the data with them. And then during dissemination requests, they come into the district court or they come into the municipal court, and at which time the court can share a link with those defense attorneys in the same fashion that we would share it with anybody outside of the police department. And it's essentially a shared link that they have the option to either download and view or watch the videos through the portal as if they do now if we were to send them a disc. But instead of it taking, like one of our records clerk, she spends hours and hours in a day. I couldn't even tell you, especially on some of the bigger cases, burning these videos. We will no longer have to do that. They will be able to just share those videos on a link, and it would be on the receiving end's time frame to download those videos if they want to watch them outside of the portal. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yep, that makes total sense. Thank you very much, Stevens. Nothing else?
Reeves?
Yes, I really like this. I'm glad you're doing this and expanding the system. I have a sidebar question. Are there going to be security cameras on the outside of the building, like to watch your cars out there?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
One of the things we just went through this past week is I had a meeting with SFS regarding cameras. There was some changes that were made during that conversation. The original proposal had for 2K cameras, 2 megapixel cameras, which is kind of technology from the late 90s. So we did recommend that you need better cameras around the police facility.
Yeah, I was just kind of curious about that because, the fence doesn't stop everybody from throwing stuff over the fence and damaging police cars and personal cars that belong to the police staff. So I just thought it might be a good idea to have that, and I'm glad you are. That's all.
Okay, that's it for the comments, questions, Mayor.
Very good. I did want to make mention this Axon system seems to be turning up again. Whoever researched and made this choice before we did the body cameras and the vehicle camera systems, we've come through a lot of technology that didn't work near as well as these Axon systems work. This seems to be the state of the art for police use right now.
Yes, sir, it is.
Good job. I appreciate the sticking with what works. So thank you very much. I don't have any other questions, concerns, comments. We'll go ahead and ask for a vote, please.
Shannon?
Yes.
Thompson,
Thompson, yes.
Gurley,
Gurley, yes.
Stevens,
Stevens, yes.
Reeves,
Reeves, yes.
Kip,
Kip, yes.
Wood,
Wood, yes.
Mackey.
Mackey, yes.
Motion passes.
Very good. On to item number 4, award a bid for the 2020 annual mowing services. Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. I'm Matt Beats, Deputy Director of Public Works. Tonight, we're bringing the 2020 annual mowing service contract to you. We opened bids on the 31st of March. We received 6 bids, and the apparent low bidder was Law Enforce. Law Enforce is the contractor we had last year. They did really well for us, and we are recommending them to receive the contract again this year. This contract, we've estimated over 26 weeks of mowing. Let's see, they mow 6 of these sites every week. The remaining ones, they mow every 2 weeks. That's how we came up with our total amount of $41,080 for the contract. I'll be happy to answer any other questions.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and ask for a motion to get on the floor so we can have discussion. I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr.
Shannon
Mayor?
here. Make a motion to award the bid for 2020 annual mowing services to Law Enforce.
Reeves, second.
Gurley.
Moved and seconded by Councilman Shannon and Councilman Reeves. We'll go ahead and ask for questions, concerns, comments by roll call, please.
Reeves,
No comments.
Stevens,
Stevens, no comment.
Kip,
Kip, it kills me to see a Bonner company come in that short, but that's the price of transparency, I guess. No comment other than that.
Gurley,
Gurley, no comment.
Wood,
No comment.
Thompson,
Thompson, no comment.
Mackey,
Along the same lines or similar lines as Mr. Kip, is there any kind of, I guess, stipulation or guideline in our bidding process where we allow a variance for local contractors over somebody else? Like say
No.
5 or 10% even?
Yeah, currently at this time, there is not.
Do you know, or whom would I address that to ask about that? Would that be a Sean question?
Sure.
Of course.
I'll pass that one off.
You bet I will.
Okay. Well,
We do have,
to all my
yeah, we
authority. What's that?
I was going to say, we do have, as of the last 12 months, I can't exactly remember the date, but we did have purchasing policies approved by the city council just a short time ago. And part of that is, as Mr. Kip alluded to, was transparency in terms of the transactions of the city. Sometimes you do have a local business sort of window, if you will, of a certain percentage. So that's certainly something that can be looked into with your guys' direction to incorporate in that purchasing policy.
May I ask that we consider some sort of option like that, especially with, as Mr. Kip alluded to, with them being so close, it would be advantageous for Bonner to try and support Bonner. I'm sure that our constituents would appreciate that.
Yeah, I'd be happy to bring that back on a future workshop. Really what it amounts to is just re-engaging that purchasing policy and just seeing if you guys would want to add an option there. Again, it's wide and varying in terms of whether cities do that or not do that. And then ultimately what that window looks like. Is that a 10% sort of slide, or is that 5, or is that 2, is that 1? So it's a little more complicated than just anything. And again, it's the fiduciary responsibility of the city to act in its best interest as far as the cost is concerned. But to your point, is there a value in doing that locally?
Very good. Yeah, I think that's something to put on the agenda for future consideration. Other questions, concerns, comments? Or where are we all along that line?
Shannon?
No comment.
Okay, we're ready for a vote, Mayor.
Seeing no other questions, concerns, comments? Ask for a vote, please.
Okay. Gurley?
Gurley, yes.
Wood?
Wood, yes.
Thompson?
Thompson, yes.
Kip?
Kip, yes.
Kip?
Yes.
Thank you. Mackey?
Sorry, yes.
Stevens?
Stevens, yes.
Shannon?
Shannon, yes.
Reeves?
Reeves, yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. On to item number 5, awarding a bid for the 2020 street resurfacing project. I would imagine Mr. Beats again.
You are correct. Thank you. Matt Beats, Deputy Director of Public Works. Tonight we have the 2020 street resurfacing bids that we're bringing to you guys. Again, on the 31st of March, the city clerk opened 5 bids from the contractors. The apparent low bidder was Superior Bowen. They are the contractor that did our work last year, and they still actually have Kansas Avenue to finish this year. We ran out of time with the weather, and so they'll still have to come back in this year, and they're supposed to be back in around the first part of May to finish that portion of Kansas Avenue up. One of the things I'd like to bring out is that part of the bid we had a alternate item included to basically reconstruct Powell Drive over in Industrial Park. However, after bids had gone out, we realized that, found out that there was some new construction going to happen over on the Westlink project, and there were several loose ends that still needed to be tied up before we were actually start tearing that road up and doing letting construction traffic on it. So we are recommending not including that. We did, however, find out that we could do a section of 138th Street. That's the piece from Gibbs up to Morris. It'd be similar to what we did a few years back from Morris to Metropolitan. Same process for it. We believe that with the current situation going on, that funding is going to be kind of an issue with to get the piece of 138th Street constructed, as well as we're still working on getting easements from some of the property owners along there. This would be a 4 or 5 year fix for that street. It'd make it really similar and safe to drive on, similar to like the other part of 138th Street. So I guess I'll answer any other questions you have.
Very good. We'll go ahead and entertain a motion.
Shannon here, Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to award the bid for the 2020 resurfacing project to Superior Bowen Asphalt Company in the amount of $727,963.40 to include the addition of 138th Street between Gibbs and Morris.
Gurley, second.
Moved and seconded by Shannon and Gurley. We'll go ahead and ask for questions, concerns, and comments by roll call.
Shannon?
No comment.
Mackey?
Sorry, too many tech devices. No serious comment. Matt, I just wanted to mention you should probably look into radio announcing. I feel like I'm on listening to Delilah late at night whenever you're talking.
Thanks.
Thompson,
Thompson, no comments.
Wood,
Wood, no comment.
Gurley,
Yay, 138th Street.
Kip,
Kip, no comment.
Stevens,
Stevens, I've got two things I was just going to ask you about. One of them is, I think, just wanted to double check. The second bullet point for the mill and overlay, 130th Terrace between Keenan Center Drive and Ridge View. Should that be Ridge Drive?
Yeah, probably so.
That's what I figured, but I just wanted to double check. And then the Santa Fe Shite Lane, because we're doing the profile mill on that one.
Correct.
How does that affect, how do they handle the active railroad tracks that go into CSM? Since we're going to be raising the road up by an inch.
Well, we will make sure that they, when they mill that section of street down through there, they'll bring it back down to the correct grade on it. Yeah, you may see those bumps going over that active track much smoother at this point.
Gotcha. So they'll actually mill a little bit deeper there, so that way it's continuous. It's a smooth surface.
Yeah, what they're going to do, it's basically a profile mill, so it's plus or minus an inch they'll take off. That's to get rid of any of the high spots in it, really. And then, then they'll make up the difference with the asphalt when it goes in to fill in any of the lows. But when you come up to railroad tracks or something like that, they'll probably do like a full mill, 2-inch mill across there to give a nice header at the tracks.
Gotcha. Stevens, no additional questions.
thank you. Reeves, questions?
Yeah, Reeves, just one comment. Are you sure we actually ought to do Pine Street?
We possibly will.
It's been
Yeah.
a long time. Yeah, I like the whole thing. Very good. Thank you.
Remember,
you.
save a piece for Coop.
We will do that.
Is there
that's the
anyone
end of
else?
our- Nope,
All
that's
right,
it.
thank you. Yeah, I had the one question or concern I had was Shite Lane is the business route for K32 or through Bonner. And if there's an increase in truck traffic or truck weights that go through that area, is that those dips in Shite Lane, are they going to receive any other treatment or just the mill and overlay?
Currently, it's just the mill and overlay, unless we get into some spots that need a full depth patch that we would then address at the time when we get out there.
There's some areas there that may have some drain pipes, drain culverts underneath that may have some special concerns with the truck traffic that's resulted in the dips over the years. So those we need to pay special attention to, or I would think there should be special attention paid to those. I don't know.
Yeah.
Seeing nothing else, no other questions, concerns, comments? Yes, please.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, if I can ask one additional thing, maybe think when you brought up about the truck traffic, will they have to reroute the truck traffic for a period of time? And where's the plan at to where they're going to reroute them?
Since this is since Shite is the truck route, they will actually just flag the traffic and keep them and take it down to one lane around the construction site. So they will stay on the current route.
Okay, that's good to hear. Nothing else, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Any other questions, concerns, comments? Seeing none, vote please.
Thompson,
Thompson, yes.
Shannon,
Shannon, yes.
Reeves,
Reeves, yes.
Kip,
Kip, yes.
Mackey,
Mackey, yes.
Stevens,
Stevens, yes.
Wood,
Wood, yes.
Gurley,
Gurley, yes.
motion passes.
Very good. Recognizing we just committed to almost $750,000 of road improvements in Bonner Springs. So Bonner Springs, if nothing else, we have a commitment to the infrastructure, and I appreciate that. I think the entire community is better for it. So moving along to item number 6, fire EMS part-time pay scale. Staff, and I'd imagine that's Chief.
Yes, we have worked together. Chris Jennings, my new deputy chief, and I worked together and appreciate his time on it. We went out looking at various departments out around the metropolitan area on how we could bring in more part-time help to cover our EMS units. We currently use Edwardsville a lot for mutual aid, which we'll continue to do, but we have to cover vacations. We also have to cover the Renaissance, Sandstone, and other big events in town, and we can use part-time people to staff our second ambulance so that we do not have to pull our first line ambulance out of service and then be short. If they're out of service and Edwardsville is out, then we're short on ambulance, have to keep calling on everybody else. So what we're trying to do is put in a full pay scale for part-time paramedic and part-time EMTs. And then also in that scale, we have whether they're a firefighter, paramedic, and a firefighter EMT. What we're after is just to get this set up so that we can draw in some good people to help us. There's guys out there when they work shift work, they're glad to come in and help us. And we have some part-time people now. It's just we're bringing a pay scale in that is set for both paramedic and EMT to help us cover the times when we need extra people.
Thank you. Anything to add?
I'll just add to that right now. One of the big risks that we're foreseeing right now is actually our outlay costs right now for coverage staffing, especially as we're talking either COVID or any of our events that we typically have in town, although right now that's kind of unforeseen. If you take a look at that graph there, our hourly savings from this change is actually pretty significant, upwards between $7 and $6 an hour on paramedic side per hour. That's an hourly savings by being able to go to our part-time resources and pull them in. That actually doesn't account for the full impact because we also have to match with KPNF or CAPER's contributions with our full-time staff. So the savings is actually significantly more than that. And it just gives us that ability to scale and adapt, which we don't have right now. If we're down one paramedic right now, it's a real staffing challenge for us to backfill. And we have one active part-timer on our entire roster right now. We have plenty of people interested, but right now with the report requirements and the training requirements, unfortunately, no one's really interested at the current pay rate.
Thank you. Appreciate all the hard work. We'll go ahead and entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, this is Mike Thompson. I make a motion to approve pay scale for part-time and event EMS staff as presented in the memo.
Jordan Mackey, second.
Moved and seconded by Thompson and Mackey. We'll go ahead and have questions, concerns, comments by roll call, please.
Shannon,
No comment.
Mackey,
Just wanted to thank you guys for all the data. More data is always better than not enough. And also thank you for keeping Bonner up to date and ahead of the times.
Thompson,
Thompson, no comments.
Wood,
Wood, what Mackey said.
Gurley,
Gurley, how many additional part-time would be ideal?
That's a really good question to ask. A lot of it depends on what we can call in for some of our events. The real trick is to have a roster. Availability is always a question with paramedics in the metro area. There's a general shortage right now. Ideally, paramedic specific. My preference would probably be to see probably 6 or 7 on the payroll that are part-time. And again, we're only utilizing them when they're actually deployed and actually on a rig
Right now to staff one additional rig for an event.
So would it be common for someone to be on roster for several different entities or cities?
Yes.
Thank you.
We've got some already interested from Edwardsville. When they're not on duty down there, they can come. And one flight medic was interested, and a couple from MedAct that are interested to come and help us out on their off days.
Kip?
No comment.
Stevens?
Stevens, nothing to add.
Reeves?
No comment.
Okay. That's all
Well,
there.
thank you. Very good. Seeing no other questions, concerns, comments, I'll go ahead and ask for a vote, please.
Okay. Mackey?
Yes. Mackey, yes.
Okay. Stevens?
Stevens, yes.
Wood?
Wood, yes.
Gurley?
Gurley, yes.
Thompson?
Thompson, yes.
Reeves?
Reeves, yes.
Kip?
Kip, yes.
Shannon?
Shannon, yes.
Motion passes.
Very good. Congratulations. Thank you, gentlemen, for all your hard work. Pass that along to everyone else too. Thank you. On to item number 7, health insurance renewals for 2020-21. Sean?
Every year we go through a process of updating our health insurance. So again, MPR, Midwest Public Risk, provides us 3 different plans or medical plans, a typical health insurance plan, as well as dental and vision. We get those renewals in late March in terms of what the impact is going to be for each plan. In front of you tonight is a continuation of the 3 plans that we currently offer, an INO 500 OAP, and then also a choice fund. Basically, it's a PPO, an INO, and then a high deductible health plan. With that all being said, what we are looking at, a lot of the way that we started to structure this over the last 2 years now, we had a big adjustment last year just because of the significant impact on health insurance that we saw hovering around 20%. We're looking at about 5 to 7% right now, but again, we're talking about a pretty significant part of our budget, so 5% is pretty substantial. What's being recommended is ultimately, again, what we've done in the past, which is to base everything more or less off of our high deductible or our choice plan. New this year is it's being requested to actually take our HSA contributions that the city provides to those that are on the high deductible plan up to $1,500 for single and $3,000 for family. Currently, it's at $1,250 for single and $2,500 for family. This would get us more in line with what MPR sees typical Kansas cities doing by way of those contributions. And what that's intended to do is actually cover the full level of deductible for employees on single and then obviously on the tier 2 or family. That does have some slight impacts, or this does have some slight impacts again to all plans. I did include in the memo just a general per pay period difference in terms of what the impact is to the city as well as the employee. The big takeaway I think off of that, as you look through it, is that we are maintaining a health plan at 100% coverage for a single, which is, in my opinion, substantial. It's a great marketing tool as far as trying to attract talent here, as well as, again, this is pretty consistent with other municipalities around us to at least have 100% thereabouts covered for single. This does maintain family coverage at 80, or a plan at 85%. And for the other two plans, that's for the choice plan. For the other two plans, the OAP and INO, those are a little bit lower. Part of that is that those are much more expensive plans than the high deductible. Even when you include the HSA contributions in there, you're still looking at a higher priced premium than the choice fund plus the HSA contributions overall. So pretty substantial. The dental and vision more or less stays the same. There's some change in terms of some differences there, but ultimately that's remaining the same. With that, again, we're looking for your guys's okay for me to actually sign off on this agreement with NPR to offer the same three plans that we've offered in the past at again some different premium expenses to the city, as well as upping the HSA contributions. All in all, you're looking at about a $38,000 increase over what we paid last year for insurance. The total estimated budget for the city was just under $1 million. We are going to come underneath that estimated budget if this is approved tonight. It'll be quite substantial. I can't remember the exact amount, so there will be some savings in the overall operational budget regardless, because of, I think we had 15%, and Tilly can chime in too. I think we budgeted about a 15% increase, so we're significantly below that, thankfully. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Did you want to add anything now, Tilly?
You hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, no, Sean is correct. Budgeted a 15% increase, and I think our increases were what, 5 to 7%, I think. So there was savings there.
Very good. Thank you. I'd go ahead and entertain a motion to increase the estimated 2020 health insurance budget to $959,884 approximately.
Shannon here. Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve insurance plans and city contributions as presented.
Jordan Mackey, second.
Moved and seconded by Councilman Shannon and Councilman Mackey. Questions, concerns, comment by roll call, please.
Reeves?
None here.
Stevens?
Nothing additional.
Kip?
Hey, Sean, I know we talked about this the last time, but for $1 million light item, have you looked at local representation on that outside of NPR, or is there a reason? Are we bound by them for some reason?
We're not necessarily bound. Part of what happens is that we do get solicitations all the time. I think as we talked about last year, the municipal market's pretty tough to compete in as opposed to the private side of it for whatever reason. It's a hard field to get into on the public sector. I can't say we've went out and competitively bid this. That's something that has been talked about. Part of it is that there is some level of coordination and having all your insurance under one sort of umbrella, which is NPR. So we do have other insurance that is provided through NPR that ultimately helps just from an internal standpoint. So again, we haven't gone out and solicited folks or tried to bid this. We do get requests. Tilly can attest to that, I think, for that. But if that's something we'd like to do, or the council would like to do that next year, I think we're happy to take a look into it. Everybody does it. I would agree. It's always good to, I think, rehash these things every couple of years, certainly, and try to figure out if we're getting the best, bang for our buck here.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It is fiercely competitive in that space, and one thing I've seen with associations, and I'm not putting any accusations towards NPR. I think I said this the last time, but a lot of times there's kickbacks with vendors to stay there and they don't shop them as hard as they can. Again, I don't know anything about this one, so I'm not trying to say. I just think it might be a good due diligence to have in the file, whether you switch or not, but just to shop that, because that health market is vicious. So just an idea.
And that's the one thing with NPR is that it's a member-driven organization. So we actually, Jack Heelan, my predecessor, sat on the board for a period of time. Mike Webb in Edwardsville, as I think, is coming off the board this year. So that's part of that, is that there's a little bit more scrutiny over the bids and ultimately what's coming in from the insurance company. So that is a value added through NPR, just to clean that up. But I think it might be a good thing to maybe sit back and have, NPR come in and just kind of give their spiel to you guys. Again, I don't think that's happened in some time.
As well as the number of other municipal organizations, school districts, county governments across the whole Midwest that are members of the Midwest Public Risk. It's always good to, like you said, to do our own due diligence and see what our options are. But in this space, I think it'd be good for them to come and explain, and then also us know what's available out there also. Continue with questions, concerns, comments. Sorry.
Gurley,
Gurley, nothing additional.
Wood,
Nothing additional.
Thompson,
Thompson, no comments.
Mackey,
Just happy to see that we're taking care of our own.
Shannon.
No comment.
Okay, that's the end of those, Mayor.
Very good. No other questions, concerns, comments concerning the health insurance renewals? Seeing none, ask for a vote, please.
Okay, Reeves,
Yes. Reeves.
Stevens,
Stevens, yes.
Kip,
Yes.
Gurley,
Gurley, yes.
Wood,
Wood, yes.
Thompson,
Thompson, yes.
Mackey,
Mackey, yes.
Shannon.
Shannon, yes.
Motion passes.
Very good. Thank you all. I know that's important to all of us. We could move on to our reports. Sean, do you have a city manager's report?
Yeah, just a few things. First and foremost, this is probably more just anecdotal, but I've been thinking about it since I've been on this call. I had the pleasure of going to Kennedy Space Center when I was about 8 years old and went through an Apollo 11 landing sort of procedure, and this entire process is reminiscent of that, up to Chris's microphone going through and thinking that I'm about to step foot on the moon. So I just wanted to make that comment to add some levity to tonight. Also, wanted to give an update. You probably have seen there has been some work done on Kansas Avenue to replace some of the curb and gutter throughout that area. That is in preparation for the eventual resurfacing of Kansas Avenue from just east side of Walmart over to 142nd Street. I think that's scheduled to commence around the first part of next month, give or take. Is that right, Matt? No?
It's to 138th Street.
138th Street. There you go.
Yeah, from Walmart to 138th.
I was trying to get us an extra 4 blocks. So, all right. So that's underway. We also are trying to get scheduled some concrete work around Oak Street. I bring that up to just kind of make point of the fact that through this unfortunate circumstance that we're living through with the COVID-19, you're seeing a lot of cities actually get done or get a lot of construction projects done just because nobody should be out and about. So we are trying to fully utilize that with some of the work that we've done. Again, Oak Street, again, with some of the restrictions in place, there's probably no better time to redo the sidewalks of Oak Street than right now. So we are diligently working through a lot of those issues. Also wanted to give a brief update if I can find it. The county is, the mayor and I and Amber are on daily conference calls with the county to go through just an update with a lot of our local partners up to and including the hospitals here. Right now, we're looking at about 336 confirmed cases of COVID-19 within Wyandotte County. Right now, we've got about 56 people hospitalized, and then we've had 29 deaths. Self-reporting, we've had 400 responses. And then also from the self-reporting hotlines that they have set up, there's about 178 probable cases at this point. It is interesting, and I think the Star had this over the weekend, and the county is also providing this information, but there seems to be some consistencies as far as socioeconomic, demographic information, or those affected rather. So again, some of that information is provided online, and I think we've also been talking a lot about flattening the curve. If you go up to the dashboard for Wyandotte County, you are starting to see that sort of trend bell curve, and thankfully you're starting to kind of see that taper at the top. There is a peak there. So again, some positive news as I look at some of the analytics here. But again, a fortunate situation here. I will say that we do have within the Bonner Springs zip code, we do have 9 cases that the health department in Wyandotte County is working. Again, all that information is available online through the Wyandotte County Health Department dashboard for COVID-19. Also want to talk about just briefly, and Councilman Thompson alluded to it, we are going through quite diligently internally reviewing everything that we're doing. You know, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but 138th Street and the feasibility of that getting done, unfortunately, anytime soon is something that, you know, we're cognizant of. So we are making adjustments in what we're doing. We're also looking at some of the projects that we have had slated, one of which would be the meter upgrades that we had talked about for our water system that is likely going to get shelved for the time being because of the issues of actually getting that work done in a timely fashion. And again, this is across the board for everybody. In addition to projects, we're also taking a look at some of the programs that we offer. Ms. Wood brought this up. Obviously, we're dealing with a reduction, or rather, just the non-existence of programs right now for recreation. So we are looking at that, obviously, as the summer starts to approach, and ultimately what that impact is going to be. Ultimately, I think if things are to open up as they normally would, we would likely see a decrease in the people signing up on those things anyway. And that's something that, you know, conversations that municipalities are having across the board. And ultimately, this all gets back to the budget. So we are tracking this and trying to make sense of exactly what our budgets are going to start to look like as we work through an entire month of shutdown. Obviously, restaurants are likely not going to have the same type of impact sales tax as they've had in the past. Naturally, hotels are going to be another one, whether or not the amphitheater opens up for a full season. All these things are, again, issues. And as I have relayed to you all, the state's somewhat suggesting, you know, be prepared for areas around 25% reductions to 15% reductions between sales tax, property tax. I have been in conversations with some of our utilities here, and one of our biggest revenues that we have coming in is our franchise fees. So as schools shut down, as businesses shut down, our electric utility franchise fee is going to go down. So again, we are working through these things and how they affect this budget, but also how they're going to affect into next year's budget. You know, anybody can read tea leaves, but whether or not this is going to be, you know, a couple months or 18 months is, I think, all over the board right now. So again, I just wanted to kind of give you guys an update of that, and obviously the public as well, to just kind of say that we do expect impacts. We don't know what those impacts are ultimately going to be, but we're working to be prepared for those. Department heads have been asked to kind of work through those things in light of these new realizations, and try to make adjustments as necessary, and again look at projects, at purchases with a higher level of scrutiny than maybe what they would typically do. And just because it was budgeted doesn't mean necessarily that we need to get it done or buy it. So again, I give some of the doom and gloom there, but I think it's important that everybody understands, the financial picture of where we're at today, and what we're doing internally to try to make those adjustments. So with that, I just, like I said, wanted to give a little bit of a verbal report on all those things, and happy to answer any questions as well. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Sean. Appreciate all that you're doing. We'll go ahead and start city council items, and we'll do that by roll call, please, Christina.
Get my list back out. Shannon?
Mm-hmm.
Shannon, you're muted. There we go. Thank you.
Yes. I don't know. I felt that their offering of 35,000 and on 150 to 200, and then 50,000 on 300, or 300 to 400,000 was way out of line. I felt that the percentages, the higher they went, the lower the amount of money that they were going to contribute, and I felt that was totally inadequate. And I think that we all need to really keep in mind and stand up what we feel that as best as possible, what we would feel would be an appropriate compensation for their mistake. And again, I realize mistakes happen, but still, this is way out of line. And I think I'm going to just kind of stop right there, because I think that's my main point. So thank you.
Mackie?
I know that I was quite subtle earlier during the workshop. I appreciate everybody putting up with me. I wanted to thank SFS for all the people that were here and were willing to look a bit. I wanted to thank SFS for dealing with us and listening to that. But yes, once again, I want to reiterate one more time the gravitas of the situation. I mean, we're in a literal once in a centennial pandemic. 35,000, 50,000 is an absolute insult on a $14 million project. I can remember very easily that they tried to slip one in whenever Dawn was still here, and we were able to shave $900,000 off the project because they wanted to charge us for the 10% overage on contracts. I haven't done commercial contracts very much. I mean, I've done one or two with Mr. Tyner, but we hired them as professionals to back us up and protect us. They have totally dropped the ball. And that's an insult that they wanted to put the 35,000 to 50,000 in there. If they don't want to do it, then as I said, I'm happy to spread it to the other senators and Congress people that maybe they should be getting reconsidered for what they're doing in Kansas City. I mean, they need to realize that we might be Bonner Springs, we might be 7,400 people, but our money, our taxpayers do matter, and they need to pay attention to that. Along those same lines, I was also curious if Mayor Alvey's going to be popping back out or coming in at some point. I'm still curious to ask Wyandotte County why they're 21 million negative before the pandemic, and now I'm quite certain that they're going to be probably pushing much further with all the problems that the pandemic is going to cause for municipalities. I'm curious where their funds are going to lie now, and just once again protecting Bonner. Thanks, guys. I'll finally peace out, and thank you once again for everybody being or dealing with me.
Thompson?
Yes, noticed that Jim Jenkins left the session a little earlier. So I want to say something that I think he was going to put out, something that he has done here recently. Jim Jenkins is the VFW chaplain, the national VFW chaplain. One of the things he has put out across the United States with the VFW chaplains and also with our ministers group. This is something that he did. It's called the Silent Minute. I'd encourage you to Google the Silent Minute. What this is in the face of the doom and gloom, you know, there is hope. There is hope. The Silent Minute was something that England did during World War II. And with the backing of Parliament, the BBC at 8 p.m. each night, they sounded Big Ben, and everybody stopped. Everybody stopped what they were doing. And depending on a person's faith background or whatever that is, it can be anywhere from a prayer to just a moment of silence. And so I want to pass that on. I think that's pretty powerful. One of the things that we can do as a nation is come together. And so 8 o'clock Central Time, I'd encourage you to set your alarm. And when the alarm goes off, whether it be a moment of silence or whether it be a prayer. But it was very powerful for England. And I'd like to pass that on. And folks, things are going to work out. That's all I have.
Thank you. Wood? Wood, you're muted.
I just want to say thank you for all these wise comments, and 8 o'clock.
Gurley?
I had two questions on the Kansas Avenue resurfacing. Are we putting a turn lane on Kansas Avenue at Commercial Drive? I know that's been discussed at some point.
You're talking about coming off of Commercial Drive onto Kansas Avenue, like as you're coming from Price Chopper.
That intersection, and yeah, I was more thinking from Kansas Avenue onto Commercial, but maybe it's the other way.
The pavement markings currently are scheduled to go back in as they are right now. We're not really changing anything there. We are going to add a right-hand turn lane coming off of Commercial going westbound.
Thank you. My other question, Sean, do you have any good news for us on Thriftway?
Say it again. Sorry.
Oh, I think we're getting feedback off Chris. Thank you. Do you have any good news for us on Thriftway?
I don't have anything too, not at this point.
Okay.
I can say that there continues to be movement towards a solution that I think everybody will hopefully find to be suitable, which at the end of the day would just be for that thing to go away. I think we all know that. But again, that has been purchased by some local individuals as far as they're invested in the community and other types of endeavors. So I am hopeful that we will have something coming down the pike soon. I don't know if Amber, if you have anything to expand specifically on that per se. But...
The only thing I have to add is I have been in talks recently since all the COVID stay-at-home orders have been implemented, and we've been emailing. One thing with that property is if we use state CDBG funds, the application package that we would apply for that property has not opened yet. The state won't open that application process until they have their workshops, which are usually in April, but due to all the stay-home orders, they have not put out a schedule for those yet. So I imagine they'll be pushed back a little bit. I'm not sure if the deadline will be adjusted as well. Usually it's in November, but it'll still give us plenty of time to get in an application for that process if that's the route they choose to go down.
Kith?
No comments other than just thanks to city staff and all our police and fire and everyone else supporting us out there. Thank you very much.
Stevens?
Yeah, thanks for asking that question, Councilor Gurley. Thanks for that answer, man. I'm the one who requested that last year about the street marking, so I'm glad to hear that we're going to create that right-hand turn lane there on Kansas Avenue. I kind of want to just reiterate what Mark Gibb said. Again, once again, thank staff for everything they do. And then on a bit of levity, I was just curious if the mayor or Sean has heard from the state if they're going to be a lottery system for the people who really need their haircut come once they open things up. So otherwise, I'm
I've
done.
got some clippers. Come on up, Tom.
Okay, will do.
Oh, geez. Okay, Reeves?
Yeah, one comment. Is there anything going on up at 118th and State Avenue? Is that dead for now, or?
We haven't. We had some level of engagement right before this all transpired with the actual people that are behind the project. But as this pandemic has surfaced, that conversation has cooled.
And then I just thank Mr. Shannon and Mr. Mackey for their comments on the way things went this evening. I do appreciate them. Thank you. Thank you. That's all.
Mayor, your turn.
Oh, well, thank you all very much. I appreciate that as well. Just to add on just a little bit, I've talked with some of the Solutions Group individuals in passing, and they have quite a few things they're trying to work through, and we're very complimentary of the city. That does continue. They're not able to move as fast as what they would want. No one is right now with the pandemic, but they have quite a few things going across the country and are excited about Bonner Springs. So they have not forgotten about us, but things have a different pace right now, and it never went fast enough even before the pandemic. So you made mention, Councilman Thompson, about Jim Jenkins. That's one of the reasons I asked him to help with the invocation tonight. That's a nationwide movement that he started as the national chaplain of the VFW, and he's from right here in Bonner Springs. So the support of him is I greatly appreciate that. He's doing exemplary. A few questions I have going forward: the pool and the farmers market. I know we're not ready to make a absolute determination right now, but those are areas that we need to consider, and also how we do go about reintegrating those to everyone. The state and the local health officials don't have an exact plan for how they will reduce the impact that the pandemic has had on everyone, but the stay-at-home order will be released at some point in time. We just don't know when and how. So I want to compliment everyone for your leadership. The city council is looked up to by a lot of people in the community, and having all of you invested goes a long ways. I think that's going to be one of the biggest hurdles for the citizens of Bonner Springs and the whole country, but to recognize how serious this impact is and how serious it is to reintegrate in a appropriate manner. I may be with all the meetings that we have with local government officials and the state, the governor's meetings, virtual meetings, as well as my professional job. My perspective may be skewed, but this pandemic is it's as serious as it can be. The United States had projected 100,000 to 220,000 deaths, and the only error they could make is erring on the side of being cautious. And they've done that with the interventions they did. They had to public health requires that they step up their enforcement, or their have a progression of the impact, because just to have the community buy-in. It's also logical that it will be a step down in a logical procession too, and we don't know what that is. But please stay aware of what's going on in our not only our local community, but state and nationally too, because this is going to be very serious. We could have pockets creep up, just like they've done in our community already with the intensive measures that we've taken. 2 of the hotspots have been around faith-based church activities, and 1 has been in a nursing home. The Riverbend facility has been impacted more than any other facility in Kansas, and the impact's not over yet. So these aren't, like Sean mentioned, there's 8 positive tests in the 66012 zip code. These are not things that are happening to other people. The impact may be more so than the virus itself, of course. It's impacting businesses across our community, as well as families that are suffering losses for other reasons, and they're being impacted in the manner in which they can move through those situations too. I want to reiterate that I'm very proud of our churches and the church leaderships that we have in this community, and how well they're caring for their community. They are truly doing a Christian work in protecting individuals in this holiday Easter season. They went above and beyond to make sure their individuals were protected. I do have guidance for the conduct of church services here from the health department. If anyone would like that information, I can pass that along, as well as I also have the talking points if you need to speak with pastors in our community, as well as the new or the mandate put out by the governor, executive order number 2018, and how that makes mention that the stay-at-home order goes through May 1st. So we have another week or so until, from all indications, the peak will be hitting. This is not something to be taken lightly. Yes, we're starting to see the fruits of our suffering. We're starting to see a light at the end of the tunnel, and please convey to everyone that you can to maintain the stay-at-home order, and only to go out for essential items. And I know that's how we're operating in my family, and I'm so proud of all of you for doing the same. I thought, Councilman Stevens, that instead of getting haircuts, we should all just band together. You and I probably could make Locks and Love pretty happy if they only needed dirty silver hair as for wigs. I don't know. Salt and pepper isn't really a big wig color. Maybe I have more salt than pepper. Maybe that'll be good.
I had to unmute the mic just to laugh.
Mayor Alvey has offered to have roundtables. Mayor McTaggart and I discussed prior to the pandemic having a joint community roundtable to have an opportunity for the county government to come and explain some of the services and the impacts that Wyandotte County has on Bonner Springs and Edwardsville. Councilman Mackey, that there's not a firm date on that yet because of the virus, but that will happen sometime in the future. And I just don't have a date now, but it's something that we've all spoke about, and he's committed to doing. Other than that, I've covered a lot. If anyone has any questions for me.
Jeff, just one last quick thing. You mentioned about what the churches were doing, and something I forgot to mention. Chris, there is a list of people that you requested that can help with this Tiblo Transit that was We've closed that down. So if there are needs, we've got a list. Just get in touch with me. And one last thing, Roger has a stain on his shirt right down here. That's all I have. Yeah, right there.
Well, I'm so proud we didn't have the
Rock
impact
John.
by any churches outside our community did. I'm glad we didn't make the national news for that. And I didn't notice any stain. I thought it was a badge. So.
Well,
That
just
was
to
the
let you
prettiest
know,
thing I've ever
the
seen.
K-State HDTV is playing the 1994 KU K-State game for free right now. So if you guys want to watch.
Yeah, like anybody pays
It's a
for that.
great
But
finish.
thank you all very much. I believe that concludes our meeting this evening. Thank you all very much.
Take care.
This conference will now be recorded.